missing teenagers. He'd met with all the other parents already. Downstairs, Jennifer Downing offered him coffee, which he politely declined. She was a meek woman whose constant restlessness hinted at amphetamine usage, and she made Jeffers nervous. Suddenly, he wanted nothing more than to be out of that house. "Have you spoken to the cops down there?" Carl Downing asked as his wife handed him a cup of coffee. "I've left them a couple of messages, but no one's called me back yet." Downing's eyes frowned at him over the coffee mug as he slurped. "See what I'm talking about?" he said after clearing his throat. "That's typical," Jeffers said, switching from one foot to the other. "Cops hear a private investigator's been hired, they think, great, here's some bumbling idiot who wants to take up our time asking questions about things that we're already looking into. I've seen it plenty of times before." "What'll you do about it?" "Drive down there and meet with them in person, and offer any assistance, whatever that might be. Not that they need my assistance, of course, but it's better to approach it as if I'm there to help them, not the other way around." Downing nodded, but his eyes grew distant. Beside him, his wife dropped straight down into one of the kitchen chairs. The lack of expression on her face made Jeffers want to hold a mirror up to her nose. "When will you leave?" Downing asked after taking another sip of coffee. Jeffers shrugged. He felt instantly tired. "This afternoon," he said. "No use wasting time." 2. Anyway, it was a chance to get out of the city and put some miles on the old Crown Vic. He packed some clothes and a few incidentals, including 2 extra magazines for his Glock, then grabbed Interstate 5 and headed south out of the city. Fumbling through his tape cassettes that lay scattered about the Crown Vic's interior, he selected the melancholic jazz impressions of New York, which, despite the title city, provided the perfect backdrop to the wet and gloomy Seattle afternoon. By the time he stopped for gas, a bag of sunflower seeds, and a coffee which he overloaded with Splenda, the rain had let up and the sun seemed hungry to make an impression on the remainder of the day before it sank down beyond the coastline. Jeffers found himself in a surprisingly good mood. He attributed this to his departure from the city, which sometimes felt like a noose around his neck. Lately, there had been too many nights spent at McCorley's running a thumb along the rim of a glass of whiskey, while his cloudy reflection judged him from a wall-mounted mirror that ran the length of the bar. No one could argue that his drinking hadn't picked up over the past year or so. He did not blame Vicky for the drinking, though. In fact, he thanked her for it. Her hasty departure from his life afforded him good reason to take up the old habit again. A fellow wasn't an alcoholic if that fellow had reason to drink. Made sense to him, anyway. Besides, to whom did he have to answer now? "No one," he said aloud, surprising himself with the sound of his voice. He was back on the road now, the paper cup of hot coffee between his thighs, the lilting sounds of Desmond's alto sax accented by Morello's casual snare brushing to keep him company. Somewhere between Portland and Salem, he decided to veer off the coast, allowing the old Crown Vic to open up along U.S. Route 101. An East Coast transplant, he'd relocated here with his first wife, Cora, back in the early 90s. The majesty of the Pacific Northwest still held power over him. On this day, the Pacific Ocean looked like hammered tin crested with white caps, the panorama so grand Jeffers could discern the curvature of the earth. He gunned the Vic's accelerator and the 8-cylinder behemoth growled and belched black smoke from its exhaust. Jeffers managed to coax the speedometer needle to a steady 85 until a police motorcycle was spotted in his rear view. He dropped gears and let the Vic shudder to a light gallop, his eyes glued to the rear view and the tiny helmeted figure on a motorcycle decked out in police lights swerving through the black clouds of the car's exhaust. Eventually, and thankfully, the cop took an exit, and Jeffers slammed the pedal back down to the floor, chuckling. This wasn't the first time he'd driven this particular stretch of highway, though the last time was more than a year or so ago. He'd still been with Vicky, and they had gone on some wine-tasting weekend together, something she had read about in a magazine or something. As the sun started to settle down behind the ocean, the water glowing fiery with reds and oranges and all the colors of autumn trees, Jeffers now wondered how he could have miscalculated the length of time it took to drive the coastal road, and he was headed for just outside of Brookings, which was practically California. He kept stopping for coffee to keep him caffeinated, but that only caused him to have to pull over more frequently.